The House of Representatives has officially passed the $1.9 trillion stimulus bill. Let me give you some information on that. Democrats have gotten over an important hurdle in COVID-19 relief. The House of Representatives just passed its version of the $1.9 trillion stimulus package, sending it off to the Senate. The bill passed around 2 a.m. Saturday in a 219 to 212 vote, with every Republican voting no. Every Republican. Democratic Representatives Jared Golden of Maine and Kurt Schrader of Oregon also oppose the bill. The bill includes some big-ticket items that would deliver important relief to businesses, workers, and the broader economy. It includes $1,400 stimulus checks for those making up to $75,000 a year, $400 expanded weekly unemployment insurance benefits through August 29th, and billions of dollars for designates such as schools, state and local governments, and restaurants. It also increases Affordable Care Act subsidies for low and middle income Americans and expands both the child tax credit and earned income tax credit. The bill also includes a $15 federal minimum wage, though the provision is dead in the Senate. The Senate parliamentarian ruled on Thursday evening that the minimum wage hike cannot be passed under the rules of budget reconciliation. Now, we're going to get back to that. If Democrats really wanted to, they could just fire the parliamentarian. Republicans in the past have had parliamentarians who said, hey, you can't do that through reconciliation, and then they just fire the parliamentarian and bring somebody in who says, actually, you can do that, and then they do it. They did that with the Bush tax cuts. They did that with welfare reform, 1996 welfare reform. So if you really want something, you could just fire the parliamentarian. Or I think you maybe don't even have to fire her in this instance. You could just override her. Apparently, Kamala Harris has the ability to just override her. There's no indication that they're actually going to do that, which is pathetic, and it shows they don't really want a $15 minimum wage. But it is worth noting here that the House version of the package has the $15 minimum wage in it, and it passed. And only 2 Democrats voted against it. Every Democrat but 2 were for this entire package. And again, I think the most important part of this story is there wasn't a single Republican vote for this package. Not a single one. Not a single one. Now, listen to this fact. This exact bill, polls at 76% approval in the country. 76%. When you ask just Republican voters, it's 60%. 60% of Republican voters support this exact bill, and 0 Republicans voted for it. Listen, man, this is one of those things where if the roles were reversed and the Democrats just put their middle finger up to 60% of their own voters, Republicans would pounce on that. They would pounce on that in a vicious way. But now it's Republicans who are putting their middle finger up to 60% of their voters. And my guess is you don't really see this weaponized in an effective political way, even though it needs to be. You know, I mean, honestly, what this reminds me of is the Obamacare vote, where Democrats caved to the Republican position of an individual mandate system. It gives more people health insurance, but it basically mandates that you have to buy it on the private market. This was a Heritage Foundation plan. It's a right-wing plan. And 0 Republicans voted for it. It's astonishing. It's astounding. I mean, I would get it if, a lot of Republicans were against Medicare for all or something, even though about 50% of Republican voters are for Medicare for all. But this was literally their idea that they came up with, and they got 0 Republican votes. What this shows you is the answer will always be hell no from these people. Every now and then you'll chip away on certain issues. You might have some libertarian-leaning Republicans or populist-leaning Republicans that you can help, you can get along with on some foreign policy stuff or civil liberty stuff or maybe some trade stuff. But on most things, they're just going to say no for the sake of saying no. They're back in full obstruction mode. So the way you deal with that is not to always reach out to them and not to always say, let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya. The way you approach this is, I'm going to make you break. I'm going to extract a political price from you every time you go against the will of the people and every time you go against my agenda. And so the real strategy in dealing with this stuff is to fight. is to fight and make them feel the hurt, make them feel like they have no option but to bend to your will. And you're beginning to see the Overton window shift in some ways. That's why you had Tom Cotton and Mitt Romney come out and say, oh, we're for an increased minimum wage, but we're going to link some immigration stuff to it and make it only $10 an hour. But that shows the Overton window is shifting. Everybody's feeling the pressure because the polls are so freaking high in favor of an increased minimum wage, so even they're bending a little bit. So you should take them head on. And even though this bill from the Democrats is pathetic, you need to extract a political price. Now, the other lesson from this is Democrats did nothing but hurt themselves by lowering the $2,000 checks to $1,400 checks. They did nothing but hurt themselves. Because the idea was, oh, that'll make it a total of 2,000 and maybe we'll get some Republican votes. Well, congratulations. You got 0 Republican votes and you pissed off more of your base. Where $2,000 checks was polling way higher, and that's exactly what you promised. Now you lowered it nominally to get some GOP votes, and you didn't get any GOP votes, so why would you even lower it? Why would you play that game? And unfortunately, I think the reality is because a lot of the Democrats didn't even want the $2,000 checks. You know, it's not like it was some strategy thing on their part, and that's the whole reason. No, I think a lot of them didn't want to give $2,000 checks. And so they were just lying when they said they were going to do $2,000 checks. So they were, in a number of ways, they were wrong. They're wrong to lower it, and also they were wrong to wait this long, man. This is remember, they said within the first week, basically, is when they were going to do this, and they didn't do it. So, but listen, it did pass now. It's going to go to the Senate. We'll see what happens with the minimum wage, but you should be super heated over the minimum wage if the result is what it looks like it's going to be, that they'll take it out. But, I mean, I think it's mid-March that the unemployment benefits run out, and so they need to pass this thing by mid-March. And again, it's just a shame that it wasn't $2,000 checks. It's a shame that the minimum wage is on the chopping block, but it does say a lot, doesn't it, that even this watered-down version, 0 Republican votes. 0 Republican votes. They flip on a dime, man. They will flip on a dime and go from... Remember, under Trump, some of the Republicans were like, yeah, cut the checks, of course, absolutely. And then now, what are they saying? All of them go right to, but about the deficit and the debt. We care so much and we can't add to the deficit and the debt. What are you, crazy? That's ridiculous. Now, meanwhile, take note, a lot of these people voted for the Trump tax cuts, which cut taxes. 83% of the benefits went to the rich under the Trump tax cut bill. And it added nearly $2 trillion to the deficit. $2 trillion. Nobody said anything about, oh my God, the deficit. Oh, how could we? No, they just voted for it because they prioritize giving money away to the rich more than they prioritize caring about the debt and the deficit. So here we have a situation where all of a sudden they pretend to prioritize the debt and the deficit above everything else. And it's really bullshit. It's just they don't want to go along with anything that would help people under a Democratic administration. That's the reality. So keep that in mind. 60% of Republican voters supported this exact bill. 60%. And 0 Republican politicians voted for it. 0. They put their middle finger up to more than half of their own party. It's really something crazy.